Hey guys, what's up? It's Michael here. So I am today going to do a video on like which Pokemon should you keep? Like when is it strong enough to keep? When is it strong enough to use? When should you trash it? What's more important, CPs or IVs or moves or so all of that type of stuff. Just kind of getting you the best Pokemon. This is like a huge update on the original one I did, which was mostly just about IVs. So before we get started, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss out on any more videos. Also, if you haven't noticed, I'm doing a $25 giveaway of the gift card, either iTunes or Google Play Store, whatever. So if you want to enter that, down in the description below, there is a video link on how you can enter and win. Okay, so this topic is pretty complicated. First thing I want to do is tell you about the Silph Road. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's just thesilphroad.com, S-I-L-P-H, as you can see it up there in the corner. They've done tons of research. They have like anything that you've ever needed to know. So I'm going to be using a lot of their information today, starting with what are IVs. As we know, I'll just go ahead, just read it off here just to be clear. Each Pokemon in the game, basically they have base attack, defense, and stamina stats that they get every time they level up. They get these base stats. And then on top of that, you have their 3 bonus stats, which are their IV, their individual value. And those can be anywhere from 0 to 15. So let's say if a Pokemon levels up, he gets 100 attack every time. This is just, I'm making something up. He gets 100 attack every time, but then he gets his IV stat. Let's say he has a perfect attack IV, which is 15. So now this guy, whereas other Pokemon may only be getting 100 every time, he's now getting 115 every time he levels up. So you see, that's how the IV makes a difference. But then it goes on about how important are IVs, and this is new information to me. It says IVs are not as impactful in Go as the main series game, but they can make up to a 10% difference in attack, defense, or stamina. Now, initially, I thought, before I knew the actual stats that the Pokemon get, which this will show you the stats that each Pokemon comes with, 10% is a lot less than I initially thought. Now, 100% IV Pokemon is still great because it's going to be, at the end, could be 10% stronger than another Pokemon. Okay, so 10%, not as huge as we thought, but still could be really important. 10%, the difference is between having 1,000 attack or 1,100 attack. I mean, it is still a big difference, but then the other side to this is how much is it going to take you to get that Pokemon to where it's usable. So if you catch 100 IV Lapras, that's perfect, at 300 CP, where you already have a Lapras that's like, that you caught at 1800 CP, in order to get that 300 up to the same level as the 1800, how many candies will that take you? Will you realistically be able to get that many candies? And then how much Stardust? Because Stardust is super hard to get. Like right now, my higher Pokemon like Dragonites and stuff, they take like 4,000 Stardust just to level up once, plus all the candies. So if I were to catch a really low CP Dragonite that was 100% IV, would I really want to use all that Stardust and all that candy to get it up to where it's usable? And for a lot of people, at least at this point, because the game's still early and you don't just have tons of Stardust and candies lying around, it would probably make more sense just to use the lower IV Pokemon that is already a high CP. Because after all, it is only up to a 10% difference. So for now, I would say use whatever is working for you, whatever is strong that you don't have to spend all of your resources on. I would keep the 100 IV ones so that in the long run, you can level them up. Then you'll have a perfect one later. But for now, it's going to be a really long time before you're able to get a bunch of 100 IV Pokemon and level them up, because Stardust is just way too hard to get. But another thing to consider, and I'll show you here on the Silph Road, is their moves. So I like to have Pokemon, for example, if I have a fire Pokemon, I want it to have 2 fire moves. The quick move, which is just the main attack that you use, as well as their power move. I want them to both be fire, because when I use a fire guy, I want it to be going against grass. But, so let's go over and look at that real quick. Let's go back. Silph Road, let's go to species, maps, and data. Let's look at, let's say, a Blastoise. Okay, here's Blastoise's moveset. As you can see, you could get a Blastoise that has a dark quick move and a steel charge move. So that, for me, I would not want that Blastoise, because when I throw out a Blastoise, it's because they threw out a fire Pokemon. So if you have this Blastoise with those 2 attacks, and then it's useless against fire, really. Because if you put this Blastoise out against a Charizard, most of his moves that he uses, his quick moves, are just going to be Bite, which is Dark, which I don't believe is effective against Fire. So another good example of this is a Gyarados. I mean, look at this guy. His moveset could be, his quick moves definitely are not going to be Water, so that's horrible. It's either going to be Bite or Dragon Breath, which when I use a Gyarados, I was super disappointed with this because it was like one of my favorite Pokemon was Gyarados. First thing when I got this game, I was like, I gotta go catch 400 Magikarp candy. But you could have a Gyarados that has a Dark quick move and a Dragon charge move and no Water moves at all. So again, I would throw out a Gyarados against a Fire Pokemon and I'm not gonna have any super effective attacks, so it's pointless. Now I will be taking less damage from the Fire Pokemon, assuming he's using Fire moves, but so that's another thing to consider is if I were to use a Gyarados, which I haven't had one yet that has Hydro Pump, but I'm going to be looking for one because that's what I want. But even so, I'm probably not going to be using Gyarados too much in battle now because when I want Water Pokemon in my team that have Water moves so that I know exactly what's going to counter what as I'm fighting. So that's another thing. I will, of course, keep my Gyarados because they are strong. I don't know when I'll ever use them, but also just because they're my favorite, not... I would keep them even if I never use them because I like them. Let's look at, I don't know, I mean that's, I hope that makes sense. So you really want, because the whole point of getting them and making them strong is to battle people, right? So for me, I want to be able to know what's going to counter what. I want Fire guys to have 2 Fire moves if possible. Let's look at like Charizard, for example. So Charizard could have a Wing Attack quick move and a Dragon Claw charge move. So he would have no Fire, I probably wouldn't use him. I personally like for them to have 2 of the same. If it's a Fire type, I want him to have 2 Fire attacks. That way I know as soon as I throw him in there, he's hitting whatever he was supposed to, hitting with Fire and doing tons of damage. So yeah, be looking, and this shows you all the moves, the Silph Road also, so go in there and look which moves are possible and start thinking like, okay, well I want a Charizard with these moves, so now I'm going to be trying to get a Charizard with those moves. And again, if you get one that's like 50% IV, that's, let's say, could be only a 5% difference to somebody who's got 100% perfect IV in the end. So I guess IV is less important than, well, it's definitely less important than I thought, but also movesets are super important because unless you memorize, okay, he's got a Wing Attack and a Dragon Claw, so that counters this and this, then it's going to get really complicated when you go into a battle and you're switching out, you know, trying to counter somebody. What else do we have here? What else? Oh, another thing to consider are attacking versus defending. Like if you're going to hit a gym, then this may be a whole different video altogether, but the different move sets, some are better for defending when you leave a Pokemon in a gym since the computer's playing. Some of those are better in there versus attacking when you have control of it. Some other moves you'll be able to do more damage with. So that's another thing to consider. That'll probably be a different video, who's better for attacking and defending, but those move sets will vary. Sometimes a moveset that you don't like for attacking will be really good for defending. I guess we'll talk more about that later. So what all have I covered here? Really the IV is less important, the movesets are super important. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be up to your preference. Do you like, you know, maybe it doesn't bother you if it has a Charizard with Wing Attack and Dragon Claw. Maybe you really don't put that much thought into it. Maybe you just go in there and just start clicking and that's the way that you play. So then maybe you just want the highest IV one to have your best chance at not getting beaten really quickly. So yeah, I think I've said everything that I needed to say. That's kind of the main stuff about it, but I just want you to be aware that IV is less important than it used to be. Be mindful of how much Stardust and how many candies it's going to cost you. Like when it comes to Snorlax and Lapras and those kind of guys, the candies, you know, they're not that easy to get. If you're teleporting, which you probably are, then they're much easier, but even the Stardust, like to level up my Dragonite one time is going to be 4,000 Stardust, which is what? I have to catch 40 Pokemon just to level them once. And then if you have like 10 Pokemon at that level, that's like every time you want to level up all 10 of them once, that's, you got to catch 400 Pokemon. So, yeah. that's Stardust is just the problem right now. So don't waste all of your Stardust on low level guys with high IVs. I wouldn't do it. I would stick to your high guys, your strongest CP guys with the best movesets. Even if they have a terrible IV, you know, I would worry less about IV, more about getting high CP, good movesets just for now. But if you catch high IV, and you should be aiming for that, keep them. One day in the future when you've got a billion Stardust after you've been playing for a year, then you can level up those guys. Then you'll eventually have a team of 100% IV, great movesets, everything. But in the short term, just go for the high CP, good movesets. Short term. Long term, keep those 100 IVs, always be looking for them. 90 and up is what I usually keep for that stuff. Yeah. Or 89.9 and up actually. But Sylph Road is great. It has, you can click on any of these, you'll see a ton of information about them, as well as what moves they can have, what they're strong against, what they're not. What else? Tools and research, I think we looked at. They have nests, which I haven't seen those to be that great. Like, I've teleported to some of them and they're like, they'll have a couple of spawns, but it's not like the nests that I've been doing in my videos where it's just like they're constantly popping up. Not so many of those. Is this where we just were? Yes, let's not go there. Let's go to Tools and research. So this tells you, oh, I thought it said their numbers. Oh yeah, well if you hover over it, so Venusaurs, when they level up, these are the stats. They get 198, 200, and 160. So for example, this 200, if I had a 15 in the IV, mine would be getting 215 every time. So, you know, they're gonna be getting 200 anyway, but they may be getting an extra 15. So it's not as huge of a difference as we thought, which is kind of sad, but I guess it's kind of better. You wouldn't want to be totally dominating someone. Yes, you would actually. Okay, I think that's it. They have also an IV calculator here. If you just put in all your stuff, you probably know how to do this. Oh, and it'll tell you just all the moves in general. It'll tell you how long it takes. Well, I did a video on battling, and this information is good for that. If you watch the battling video, you want to see how long it takes, like how many times you can hit before you have to move and that kind of stuff. This information is here. They have all of the moves. What else? Just look around here. Look around the Sylph Road. It's a great resource. A lot of information here. I hope any of this made sense. I feel like I've just been rambling, but it all made sense in my head, so maybe you'll get some of it. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see next. I think some of you have been requesting nests. Let me know down below if you have a nest request. Also, look through my videos. It's likely that I've already done a nest for what you're needing, so before you ask, you may want to just search and see if I've done that. I probably have. And also, if you go to a nest and it's no longer working, please let me know so that I can make a new one. I just updated a few of them. So I think that's gonna be it. That's definitely gonna be it. I'm not gonna think anymore because I could keep rambling all day. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.